The seventh fundamental of evolution mentoring is to live your life in a way that you take accountability and responsibility for your role in anything that goes on in life, not allowing yourself to be a victim, so that no matter what happens, you can always maintain for yourself a sense of your own personal power in life. Because the reality is, no matter how much we try to control things, no matter how much we prepare, things are going to happen in life. And yes, things will happen to you. And some of them are going to be utterly amazing, where you were just in the right moment, in the right place at the right time. And some of these things are going to be absolutely horrific, and they're not going to just affect you, they're going to affect everybody. But most of the things that go on, that happen, that we have to think about taking responsibility are pretty darn mundane things that can just be little irritants that start your day off wrong, or all of a sudden things are going fine and then oops, you spilled on yourself and you don't have a clean shirt and now you got to get to that meeting or you got to get to that class. And it's just irritating. And there are so many people that this kind of thing happens and it ruins their day and they're a victim to it, right? Trying to get somewhere and somebody bumps into your car and all of a sudden you're going to be late and you have to deal with the idiot and the insurance, and it can just ruin your day, ruin your week. Or this is such a common one so many people can relate to, showing up to school to find out that there's a quiz that day that you didn't know about because the day the teacher announced it, you were sick that day. No one bothered to tell you. Or getting to the airport and finding out that there's bad weather or a mechanical problem and your flight's canceled. And whereas many people that day will start cursing about the airline, I'm never flying this airline again, and being a victim to it, you could choose a different response to it, because how you react in that moment when these things happen matters, and it's going to determine whether it's going to become a big deal, whether you can move through it quickly. This is really important to do. But this conversation is not just about how you react in the moment, it's more about how you react after these things happen to you. What's the story you tell yourself about it? How do you behave? What are you thinking about it afterwards? Because so many people, when things happen that just throw off their day or throw off their week or become major traumatic life things, they give away their power to it. They let that incident define their day, their week, their month, or their life. They take a victim mindset, and by blaming others, it's not their fault, it's the unfairness of the world, they end up giving away their power. And so often, they don't even realize it, but the more they replay the memory of it in their mind, the more they retell the story, the more they relive what happened, whether it's talking to their therapist about this awful thing that happened to them over and over again, which just makes them have to keep reliving it, or whether it's the things that they're saying to themselves in their own head, or going out and finding other people they can just tell their story to, their awful story about how bad the world is, or that restaurant, or the service you got there, or whatever. The more you talk about it, the more you think about it, the more you relive it, the more you give away your power, and the more you adopt this victim mindset that is so pervasive in our culture. And it sounds like this: you triggered me, or of course with my luck, or it's not fair, the coach plays favorites. Go on and on with this. This is all the language of victimhood. It's all the language of giving your power away to something on the outside that controls how you feel and how you think on the inside. It's the opposite of evolution mentoring. Evolution mentoring is about keeping your power, staying empowered in your life no matter what has happened to you or no matter what challenges you face. Don't allow yourself to be a victim. Instead of blaming, instead of getting caught up in the blame game, take responsibility for your role in what has gone on. Think about the decisions that you made that left open the possibility this could happen. Like the person who gets in a car accident wants to blame the other driver. But remember, you make a decision to be a person who drives cars, and inherent in driving is you can't control what other people are going to do. This is, inherent in driving is sometimes your car is going to break down, right? And you have to understand that you have a role in these decisions. You choose to live life this way. Take responsibility for your reactions to things. If you flip out and, lose your cool, or you wind up, in tears or something over something, it's not somebody else's fault. You're the one who has the control to be able to address that or to be able to change it. And by taking responsibility for this, this is where you have power. So it's always asking yourself, what role did you play in things that went on? Even if like 95% of what happened, you're a victim to it. It was not your responsibility. At some point in there, you have some responsibility in the choices that you make in your life to live in a way that allows for these kinds of things to happen. Or you get in situations like at the airport where the flight gets canceled. Instead of calling people and bitching and complaining about the airline, think to yourself, what can I do now? How can I still get to where I want to get to? That's where you have power. Don't let the canceled flight ruin your day. keep a mindset of going, listen, part of travel is sometimes things happen and I still got to find a way to get there. What can you do now? I had a conversation with somebody just the other day, found out that her boyfriend cheated on her. And she went from upset and how could he do this? And I'm always so nice to him. And why does this always happen to me? To when I asked this question, I said, when you look back on it, what signs did you miss? Were there any that you missed? And she thought about it. She says, well, actually about 3 weeks ago, there was a Friday night where I was texting him and he didn't respond the way he normally would. And something in my gut kind of told me that something's a little bit off, but I believed him. And see, take responsibility that you ignored your instinct. You ignored your gut that told you something was off. That's where your power comes, is that you don't have to be a victim if you start to take responsibility for your own role in things that went on. What can you learn? How many times somebody winds up missing a deadline, not being able to drop a class or register for something because they didn't read the fine print, and then they want to bitch and complain about how the system works. And I go, take responsibility. You had the same opportunity to read the fine print as everybody else, and you chose not to. Learn from it and make sure that you don't repeat this in the future. Don't be a victim to it. Accept that it's what went on. See if there's some other way you can go about getting there. This is the excitatory bias from the first fundamental, but also take responsibility. You're not a victim to this stuff. And by not being a victim, you end up living your life where you have more power, more personal power in your life. And the more personal power you have, the more likely you are to get what you want in life, the quality of life you want, in spite of what's happened to you, in spite of what challenges you're currently facing, and in spite of what challenges lie ahead. This is the kind of work we do through the Evolution Mentor courses, is teaching you how to integrate this into your life so you stop being a victim and start living with accountability and responsibility and have power in your life in a world that's just filled with so many people who are victims. You can be the exception.